Hi, I'm Doug Oster from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Welcome to Digging with Doug. And I don't know if you can hear that, but they're working on the house doing jobs I would never do. I don't know which side of a hammer to hold, just a trowel. Now last week, I hope you got a chance to see a little expose I did on all this crazy stuff in the garden. If you didn't get to see it, it's on the Post-Gazette website under Multimedia, Digging with Doug. But today we're going to look at a project we did this spring called the Great Potato Experiment. Now, I don't know if we're going to have 10 potatoes or 10 pounds, but come on, let's take a look. All right, here it is. This composter I filled with compost and cut out the sides and put seed potatoes in the side and on the top. And we've waited for the vines to die back, and they're definitely died back. I know there's some potatoes in here, but I don't know how many, so it's time to open it up. And the nice thing is going to be that when we do open it up, all the compost that's left will be ready right here for this bed. When we started filling this up, it was just a little bit off to the side. Over the summer, it's leaning that way, but hasn't left yet, so let's see what happens when we open it up. Maybe I should go get the guys that are working on the house to get this last nut out. Will it fall apart like we thought it would? No. Oh, there we go. How about that? That's almost the size of a potato in the store. Hey! That looks like George Washington. I need to find a garden fork. Okay, all I got in the garden is this hoe. We'll see what happens. Oh, yeah. Ah, there we go. That's what I wanted. A lot of small potatoes. I expected bigger. Bake at 350 degrees for 2 minutes for a nice baked potato. I think also I would move this up to a sunnier area. But I like the idea. Oh, that might be king potato right there. I can't wait to cook these up. One thing kind of funny in here, it's filled with potato bugs, which just feed on decomposing matter, but it's kind of cool. Well, it was definitely an interesting experiment. First off, I didn't think I was going to have to work this hard to get the potatoes. I thought somehow I was just going to be able to open that up and they would fall out. So that's what we'll work on next year a little bit, but I'm not abandoning this project, that's for sure. Oh, there's a nice one, huh? This is what we ended up with right there. Not a great harvest, but you know, maybe 5 pounds. That should have had 40 pounds of potatoes in there. Well, that was a little disappointing, but it's okay. That's part of gardening. Now, we need to talk about something that's serious, happening in most gardens around the area, which is late blight, which has hit the tomatoes. And I've talked to a lot of people about blight over the last few weeks. You have to be sure that it's the late blight that you have before you start pulling your tomatoes up, and that's what we're going to look at now, how to identify that. Well, this is late blight, and the way we tell the difference between late blight and other fungal issues in tomatoes is when it starts to affect the fruit like this. You can see that it's started to turn black. Now I'm hoping that this tomato is going to ripen and I'm going to be able to cut that out of there. That's the plan anyway. But when we start to see black on the fruit, when we start to see black on the vines and on the leaves, we know that late blight is going to take this plant within a matter of days or weeks. But if all we have is yellow leaves from the bottom working their way up, and we don't see any of that black, well, that's other fungal diseases that we don't really have to worry that much about. And that's the case where you don't have to pull out your plant. So be sure to identify it. If you've got the black, that's the late blight. If it's just yellow and brown and working its way up, that's early blight or some other fungal issue that you don't have to worry too much about. If you see black on top of the plant, you know it's late blight and you've got to get rid of the plant. You can't compost it. You basically just have to put it in a plastic bag and throw it away. All right. We've got some better news in other parts of the garden. I want to show you some kind of weird stuff that I'm growing that is fun, and some of it's some heirloom varieties. So let's take a look. This is my favorite pole bean. I've been growing it now for, gosh, almost 20 years. It's called Cherokee Trail of Tears pole bean. It was grown by the Cherokee for years and years on the East Coast, and when they were evicted to Oklahoma, they had a death march called the Trail of Tears, and they took the bean with them. and then started to pass that bean out in the West, and now it's got into some of the better catalogs, and I just absolutely love this one. It's prolific. The beans themselves, when they get bigger, will be black. The pods start off green, will turn purple, but when they're small like this, they're heaven. They're just a different type of nutty flavor. Absolutely wonderful, and very easy to grow, and now very easy to find. And behind me are another interesting bean. It's Chinese noodle bean, and come on, I'll show you. They make this, that's just the start of the noodle bean, and it's going to be probably 3-4 times that size by the end of the season. And they're another pole bean, and they start putting on beans. It's just amazing. They're just so tasty and a fun, different thing to have in a garden. I love having different things in the garden. It's one of the fun things of gardening. I had somebody came over and visit the garden. That's the first thing they said. They said, "Boy, you like a bunch of different stuff, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." Remember, if you want to find out more information about what we were talking about today, log on to www.post-gazette.com/homes and click on the Gardening Forum button. That's also a place where you can ask questions, and I'd love to answer some questions. Next week, we're going back to the nursery, and we're going to pick out some plants we're planting now for winter interest, because it's time to start thinking about planting our perennials, shrubs, and trees. Until then, maybe one little Chinese noodle bean. Da 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 da.